I bring you on as I kind of set it up a little bit. When it comes to the funding solutions and NIL and community colleges and junior colleges, you kind of are the backbone when it comes to athletes, especially here in North Carolina and the Carolinas, for them to continue their educations. But in a lot of cases, there's just not a lot of money to go around. And for you, it's always going to be a challenge.
Absolutely. And, we've had to get very creative. Our presidents have had to get very creative on continuing to fund athletics. We're funded at about a 50% rate of what we were 8 or 10 years ago because of our funding model. The costs have gone up, there's always fundraising and that stuff to do. But with the state money out, with gambling tax money, we know it's going to universities, going to high schools, and it should be. But we just want to be a part of that equation where, our community colleges can get some of that money to better create opportunities for our student athletes, which is only going to be growing in the future with what's happening at the NCAA Division I schools with the reduced rosters over time.
Yeah, the roster limits that are going to be put into place here very soon, at least gradually put into place here, starting in just a few days, will certainly affect enrollment. Certainly, the Power Four will have fewer spots. The Group of Five will have fewer spots. That will eventually trickle down to the community college level, which it's not about necessarily, at least where I sit, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. It's not really about having to recruit too many athletes to play at the community college level. I understand the value of a junior college education. I have a degree from a junior college before I went to a four-year university. I did not play sports, though. My wife, though, did, and she took that route where she was able to get some experience at the community college level, but that also came with not necessarily a full ride, a full scholarship, and I know that's challenging for the scores of schools that you represent in trying to make sure that there's an education but also some sort of incentive to come there and actually play sports.
Absolutely, and we've got letter of intent limits just like the NCAA does, not to the level that the NCAA just created for Division I, but the majority of our student athletes who sign letter of intent are not getting any money for it. It just binds them to the school that they sign with. So the majority of our student athletes are paying all out of pocket to go to school, to live off campus, to buy food. It is a big challenge, and it's going to be even more challenging with an influx of potential student athletes that are going to be looking to go the junior college route going forward.
Lind Hartsell joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. He's the Regional 10 Commissioner for the NJCAA. We have 20 community colleges here in North Carolina, mostly public, just one private, Lewisburg College just up the street from us. I got Wake Tech just down the street from our studios, main studios here in Raleigh. When you talk to your athletic directors, you talk to these college presidents and whatnot, what's the one thing that always comes up in conversation with them?
Well, it is funding. It goes back to that. It will probably scare you to see how some of our teams travel. We don't have, at our community colleges, not one school has a full-time athletic trainer. That's going to be a more point of emphasis going forward. And you would like to increase your scholarships, but again, you're just worried about operating, having an operating budget that'll get you through the season. And, we really don't want ADs or presidents to say, hey, we want to put plaques in our trophy case, but we want them to be silver, which means runner-up. We don't want you to win it. Then we got to spend more money on you advancing in the postseason. That's not the mindset that we want.
So, Lynn, what are the options for you then, as a commissioner, and you hear these concerns, and obviously you feel that you want a piece of the sports gambling tax money, but if you can't get some of that, then where's the grassroots support have to come from? Obviously, the communities where these community colleges are coming from, but you can only tap them so hard.
Correct, and it's tough for us. It's easier for a high school because those are all local kids. Not all of our rosters at our community colleges are local kids. You got to find the right fit. You're going to go out and try to get the best you can. What I'm afraid we'll eventually see is a reduction in sports at the community colleges that we have now, which is not the route we want to go. We already had one school who reduced down their sports offerings by half a couple of years ago. And I'm afraid that's going to be the next step unless something can be done.
And I know community colleges. Again, I went to a JC. My wife went to a JC before she earned a scholarship at a 4-year school. I mean, good stepping stones and things like that. But when you look at community colleges and you see some of the success stories that come out with it, it's not just that success when it comes to on the field. Like Paul Gervais just made his debut, Wake Tech pitcher, made his debut for Tampa. So we know success stories come out of this way. But it's also success, I believe, for you. Within just kind of the economic boundaries of these colleges. Like, without having some of these athletes come to school, without having some of these programs, the communities where these colleges are kind of lose some of the, I don't know, that hometown feel or some of that community spirit that comes along with being part of a college or university system.
Absolutely. And I will say one thing about Paul real quick. Not only was he's a Wake Tech alumni, he's a Pitt Community College alumni as well. So he kind of double-barreled the community college thing in North Carolina. But, you know, it is a big impact on our local economies for the schools that we have. 13 of our 20 schools are in municipalities under 50,000 people. So our student-athletes renting houses or apartments, buying food at the grocery store, buying food at restaurants, buying gas. It's an economic stimulus that people don't really think about to that small local community. And as I've said before, if a community college loses their athletic department, they're not going to shut the town down, but that community is going to feel it. And, you know, from a political sense, we are about economic development.
Education is key, no doubt about it. Sports is
absolutely.
You know, education is great. Sports is the add-on, and I think sports is the one thing that bridges people together, which is why we're talking to you this afternoon. Lind Hartsell joining us here on the Adam Gold Show, Regional 10 Commissioner for the NJCAA National Junior College Athletic Association. And Lynn, before we let you go, I know the goal here is to raise a little bit of awareness. You obviously funding challenges for a lot of schools and funding challenges for a lot of people. That's just the world we live in. But at that grassroots level, what can folks do? I'm like, is it lobby their representatives to see if they can, hey, listen, community colleges deserve just as much as our larger schools throughout this state? Is it about, hey, just get out there and go to a game, buy a booster club membership, or make sure you buy the barbecue plate at the next game you go to?
Well, and what we found out, and this is not, minimalizing what we do, but if you go to one of our games, most of our games, it's immediate family, boyfriend, girlfriend, that's who comes to games. You don't really get the local flavor like you might in a high school. So we realize that. Some of our successful programs, they're not selling gyms or fields out, and we understand that. The biggest turnaround for us is, getting to be part of the gambling tax money that, is being sent elsewhere. And again, those other entities are very deserving of that money, but, we hold a special place in North Carolina as well, and we just want to better put ourselves and the student athlete with the opportunities forward to give them a good experience, both academically and athletically.
Lind Hartsell, NJCAA Regional 10 Commissioner, joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. Lynn, appreciate you checking in with us. Appreciate the time, and I appreciate the education and what community colleges are trying to do here throughout North Carolina, not just with the education, but also in the sports world as well.
All right. Thanks for having me, Paul. Y'all have a good weekend.
All right, Lynn. Appreciate you. Lind Hartsell, NJCAA Regional 10 Commissioner.